is in my blood, like a drug now. It does no good. It takes me higher than I've ever been. Sends me flying, strips me clean. Acceleration. Acceleration. Acceleration.
Escorts led the field away from a cold and foggy Welsh pool at the start of the 1994 Midland Rally. Driven by Francois Delacour and Malcolm Wilson, they were the only reward that the organisers had got for keeping the international status that their rally had run to for several years. For the spectators though, the presence of the two escorts was a real bonus as they shot through different one with Malcolm Wilson the quicker by just 1 second. But there was a shock in store for Ford on definite 2 when the crank sensors failed on both cars. For Delacour, this meant a long and frustrating stop, although at first he didn't seem too concerned.
Nothing doing, Francois.
And he didn't know that Wilson had stopped as well. Earlier on the stage, though, there were more serious problems for Brian Lyle, who rolled his ex-Malcolm Wilson escort and was horrified when it caught fire. With Daniel Grataloop on the radio to the crew, Delacour was a bit puzzled that Malcolm hadn't gone by yet. As for Robert Plant in his Mini, he was just cruising along, getting in practice for the RAC Rally. As the French crew struggled to get their car restarted, Wilson, who knows the inside of an escort better than most, was able to get his going again and passed the stranded Delacour without so much as a sideways glance. Paul Dyers probably couldn't believe his luck when he saw Delacour's car parked at the side of the stage. Eventually, having lost 9.5 minutes, the crew got the car to fire again. Even Robert Plant had passed them by this stage. And off Delacour went as if nothing had happened. Was now in second place and running first on the road in his Group N escort. But this sudden front puncture was obviously a major blow to his progress. But he had no other real problems and was rightly delighted to take second overall. Mind you, if he'd taken part in the National A event, he would have won that by 30 seconds. In the National A event, Brian Bell was running one of those newfangled torque control systems, which so frighten the wildlife that they're trying to get them banned. I wonder why. More straightforward brute horsepower came in the form of Roger Duckworth's Sierra V6. What a monster. Last year's National A winner Tim Ellis-Jones was leading after the first stage, but turbo problems put paid to any chance of success this year. Mark Perrott was another to have problems with his Escort Cosworth only lasting a couple of stages. This allowed Brendan Creeley to take a convincing Group N victory after a fairly satisfactory rally. Overall winner of the National A event was the Sierra of Ewan Roberts, apparently running on the same tyres that his brother used to win the Cameron Rally 2 weeks previously. Who needs an Escort Cosworth when you've got bags of talent? It was a cautious Jonathan Bennett-Evans who finished in third place, which is enough to make him the Welsh Forest Rally champion for 1994. It's certainly a benefit when you live on the Sweetland Rally complex, but Jonathan performed well to take the championship and is hoping to rebuild the Sapphire into an Escort Cosworth for 1995. Otherwise, crews were doing the best that they could to enjoy themselves and entertain the spectators. Paul Griffiths went a little bit too far, though, in his efforts to keep the fans happy.
Come on, let's get...
Not sure whether you can get out the driver's side because the tail's going the door against the tree. Are you alright?
Get your lock off, mate.
Come on, get it drive out of there. You're in the dangerous place. Come on, lads. Don't be safe. You've got to get it out of here, mate. It'll get it.
He'll drive out of there.
Get out.
Meanwhile, the others played on.
Go forwards, mate. This way. Drive it out.
Slide it, roll it.
Right, roll it. He wants to come out here.
back in now!
You want to come up here?
Drag the back in now! Drag the back in now!
Pull back in this way. He wants to come along here.
Pull the back end over! It's belly down, Dave.
They eventually got the car out, but it went no further. Now was the time for the cars in the National B Marion Rally to make an appearance. Some of them had been landscape gardening as well.
But he's stuck in it. No, no.
The rest just continued to entertain. Mad Mick Jones almost won the National A Rally. Why did they call you Mad Mick?
Well, I picked up the Mad tag when I used to rally in a Mark II Escort. I mean, when I first started, we were wild. We were down the ditches, up the banks, everywhere. And, you know, we had an accident. We had a really big accident. And if there's a jump, we were way higher than anyone else. And some of the times we used to finish. A lot of the times the car used to break because we were just too hard on it. And that's it, really.
This driving style of yours makes you very popular with all the Welsh rally fans.
Yeah, I mean, the sidewheel style, people argue about whether it's fast or not, but by heck, it's good fun. People like to watch it. Rallying should be fun, so we get stage times at the end, so why not carry on, do what you enjoy doing?
Having been top amateur in last year's Network QRAC Rally, what was he hoping for this year's event?
Well, obviously we're aiming to be top amateur again and top privateer to boot. And if we have a bit of carnage up the front with the works teams, you might hopefully try and slip in the top 10, because that would be an achievement.
And how do you feel the car compares nowadays? Do you think that technology's moved on a lot in 12 months? I mean, were you competitive last year, or did you just manage to keep going?
What it was last year was when the car was so under-financed last year. When we entered the RAC, we had £2,000. We needed £4,500 to compete in it. And I figured that there's a fair chance I could win the amateur category last year. And I was banking on that £2,500 to make the shortfall of the budget. As it worked out, it came out great. This year, going on from our last year's result, we've got a really good budget together where we can afford to have tyres for a change. I mean, last year we did the first day on a set of tyres that we used on the previous RAC. And on the second day in Wales, we used one set of tyres. It wasn't until we hit the snow in Kershaw and come out way in the lead in the amateur category that we knew we were in for a good shout at the prize money, where we could afford to go and spend some money on some more new tyres. So, I mean, this year we can really go from it from the word go, whereas last year we had to be very careful and make sure we survived the first 2 days and see how it panned out, and it came our way. So this year's maximum attack from stage one, really.
Does the four-wheel drive car suit your style, or do you think you could drive anything? If you were a two-wheel drive car, if you had to go to Formula 2, how do you think that would go?
I think if you can drive a car, it's got four wheels, it doesn't matter where the power is, it's easy. The balance is the same. People told me it was easier to go out of a front-wheel drive into a four-wheel drive than going out of a rear-wheel drive into a four-wheel drive. I went straight out of a Escort into this and just took it to it like a duck to water. Within 3 stages, I was at home with it. So whatever it is, I have had some experience with front-wheel drive, and it asks you the same questions. You just had to give it slightly different answers, but the principle's the same, so there shouldn't be a problem. So I think it'll be great when we get to Formula 2, to be honest.
Why?
Well, what I've noticed about four-wheel drive is the more power you get, the quicker you go.
Yeah.
And when it used to be two-wheel drive, you used to have the Cosworths. They just used to burn their tyres out.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one stage, Davenant, about 3 years ago in a national round, we were third fastest overall through there in a 2-litre Escort in the dry against four-wheel drive and turbocharged Cosworths. It just, you know, it doesn't make sense. Yet now, once you get into four-wheel drive, you've had it. You're talking minutes a stage, not seconds.
So you're going to do Formula 2?
Yeah, why not? You know, the enjoyment from driving a Formula 2 has got to be close on the same as a 4x4. I'm glad I haven't missed the 4x4 era. I mean, I've always had an ambition to drive a full house Group 4 Escort, PDA, which I haven't realised, but at least I haven't missed the Group A 4x4 era. And I think Formula 2 is probably the best thing that could have happened to rallying scene, I think.
So if you had the choice at the minute and the money, which car do you think you'd go for?
If I had the choice at the minute, it'd still have to be a 4x4 for next year.
Yeah.
Proper one. Probably an Escort Cosworth, or a Subaru, or a Lancer. I'm not fussy.
What's the history of this Escort car?
It's Ben Ripley's old chase car originally. And when he did the British National and we bought it. The car, when we built it originally, stood me 15,000.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And I've probably spent money to keep it running, but we spent about another 2,500 having the engine done and a Group A management thing. That was before the RAC 2 years ago, and it's so cheap to run, it's ridiculous. I mean, last year it probably cost me under £1,000 to run it for 12 months.
Under 1,000?
Oh yeah. This pretext that Group A is expensive is total off the ball. It's about half the cost of running a BDA Escort to run this. You know, I've won events on this, on tyres that you wouldn't even think about putting on an Escort. I mean, last year, not this last year, the year before, we did the RAC, and up until the Severn Valley, I'd done 3 or 4 events in between, we hadn't used a single new tyre, we just used our old tyres off the RAC.
And you felt there was no point?
Well, we won the ATS on them.
Well, you can't really do better than winning, can you?
Yeah, it was in a class of its own, really.
Yeah.
I mean, before this car, we had a Starion for 12 months, 18 months. Now, that was a hard car to drive. That was like, you got in a corner, you had to get your line right. If you hadn't got it right, well, you come out of the corner all wrong. And it really was a hard car to drive. So getting out of a Starion into this was really easy. I mean, getting back out of this into an Escort again, well, that is like, oh, it's like sitting in a toy, huh? You throw it around everywhere, do anything you like with it. But I quite like the reliability of the car far outweighs anything else. Its size and cumbersome, it's just so reliable. Can't get no better, really.
Even though the Mitsubishi is fast and reliable, like most privateers, money is the biggest problem. So how did he come to do last year's RAC and have so much success?
Well, when I entered the RAC last year, I had a commitment off Shukers to cover the entry fee. However, they couldn't cover the entry fee until the RAC because their financial year starts in November and they'd used their budget up already. So we were using the budget for this year for last year, so to speak. So I'd had an insurance policy that matured, which gave me the £1,000 to get the entry in on time. And we decided, well, we'd do it anyway. And whatever extra money we raised, that would help. Even if we did it on 2 sets of tyres for the whole event, or use all the old ones I got, we were going to do the event. If it meant sleeping rough in the van, we were going to do it. And Neil, our co-driver, came up with about £800 of Hunter timber, which was a godsend. It gave us a little bit more money. It gave us enough money to cover a little bit of a hotel bill up north and some of the petrol money. And then we figured, well, we'd go for it for the first 2 days, saving money, and if we're in with a chance, we'd go all out for the amateur prize money, which turned out great. And because of the good result we had last year, the snow helped. That was incredible. We went into Kershaw, I think we were 2.5 minutes behind in class, 20th overall. And in 20 miles of snow, we rocketed up from 20th to 14th overall with a 5-minute lead in class. We actually caught and passed 3 or 4 cars in there. So the snow was just a godsend to us, because I'd done a lot of driving in snow when I was younger, and it all come back just like duck taking to water again. And then after that, I haven't driven so slow for years, as from that point to the end of the RAC, just to make sure we didn't put a foot wrong anywhere. It'd be nice to go back to that position again this year and really attacking it. Okay, you might fall off the road, but I'm sure the stage times would be pretty sparkling compared to what they were last year.
As a man who has come up through the ranks from single venues to international events, where would he like to see rallying go in the future? And what does he think of the structure of British rallying?
I think fundamentally there's nothing wrong with the structure of rallying at all at the minute. What they should do now is take the opportunity, which they have done. They've got Formula 2 for our British Open. 4x4 Group B, anything goes in the national rallies. Restricted, single venues, small events, restricted to Formula 2 again, so we get rid of the situation where people turn up in cars like I've got and go pot hunting and ruin it for the club guys. I think they have the perfect opportunity now to totally structure the class of British rallying. You can start off as a clubman. If you have aspirations to go into nationals, then you've got to work into 4x4 or something bigger like that. Or if you're a talented youngster, you can leap the national and go straight into the Open Series in Formula 2. And then as far as the World Championship goes, I still maintain what I said years ago, they should just ban the turbos and leave everything be. Forget about Formula 2, four-wheel drive, whatever, because it'll all balance itself out in the wash. If you haven't got a turbocharger, then four-wheel drive is not that big of an advantage. In fact, it's a total disadvantage on tarmac because you sap so much power that a two-wheel drive would be quicker anyway. So it would totally open up the World Rally Championship. They could run what they want, and it would all come out in the washing in the end.
So the new idea that they've just announced in the last week or so looks like the proper way to go for you.
Yeah, as I say, it's what I wrote a letter to the Motor News 18 months ago stating exactly that fact. And it's nice to see they finally come up with it.
So they read your letter 18 months later?
No one likes to think so.
In every edition of Acceleration, we see great shots of undiscovered Welsh talent. Who does he rate as the best?
I mean, if you put John, Ewan Roberts, Jeff Jones, and one or two others, the talent is really good. You know, you won't find no better. As far as driving ability, John and Ewan, I rate them really highly. And Jeff Jones is another one that I rate very highly. It would just be nice to get all in the same car, something like a Peugeot even, and just sort it out once and for all on the stages. That would be something out of this world, I think.
One or two people have suggested that people like you and John and Ewan Roberts could perform as well as Colin McRae given the right budget. I mean, would you think that was reasonable?
Yeah, well, I've always said if I could have afforded to have as many accidents as Colin, I'd be pretty damn quick as well.
Well, we'll leave it at that, thank you, Mick. It's the 50th running of the RSC Rally this year, so let's look back over its history. First, 1984, when the rally supercars were really coming onto the scene.
On a cold November morning and the start of the Lombard RAC Rally, the final round of the 1984 World Rally Championship. Favourite for overall honours are the team currently on top form, Peugeot Talbot Sport. They have a single entry for Ari Vatanen and Terry Harriman in the 205 Turbo 16, the first of the new breed of purpose-designed rally cars, which has set the rally world buzzing with wins on both the Thousand Lakes and San Remo rallies. Seeded number 2, they should have had the 1984 world champion Stig Blomqvist, last year's winner, ahead of them. Audi management, however, decided that as Blomqvist had clinched the title on the previous World Championship round, there was little need for him to compete on the RAC. Instead, he was asked to flag the leading crews away on an event he hasn't missed himself for the last 12 years. Behind Vatanen, his biggest rival, Hannu Mikkola, partnered as usual by Arne Hertz. Mikkola has an enviable record on the RAC, winning it no less than 4 times during the past 6 years. The 1984 British Rally champion Jimmy McRae follows next in the Opel Manta 400. Jimmy finished 3rd on last year's event, but feels he will have to work a lot harder this year to achieve a similar result. The first day of the RAC Rally has traditionally become one of a tour of spectator stages, mainly over tarmac roads and the grounds of stately homes and safari parks. The first on offer this year was the Toyota-sponsored Knowsley Safari Park stage near Liverpool. Most drivers treat these Mickey Mouse stages with caution, as they form a very small part of the competitive route, just 23 miles out of 550. Ari Vatanen had set fastest time, pursued by a gaggle of two-wheel drive cars. Mikola had his share of misfortune with a misting windscreen, which obscured his view, causing him to clip a log and damage a rear wheel. The biggest drama was reserved for Tony Pond, who slid off into the trees, and although struggling through to the stage finish, was to go no further. Stage 2 was a visit to Chatsworth House near Buxton for a dash over a mixture of gravel and tarmac roads. Vatanen again posted fastest time. Behind him, the trio of other four-wheel drive cars, and despite taking a rather wider line than most, American John Buffum, partnered by Britain's Neil Wilson, takes third fastest time. Leading the conventional cars on this occasion, Timo Salonen's Nissan 240 RS. One or two crews, however, found that perhaps racing rubber on mud isn't the right combination, and getting round this particular bend proved harder than they anticipated. The rally moves south to Donington Park Racing Circuit, where once again the Peugeot 205 Turbo sets fastest time. Michel Mouton hauls the Quattro Sport round in second place, 2 seconds ahead of teammate Mikola. The different cornering techniques are illustrated as Voldegaard flings the Toyota Celica into the bend. Roger Clark, meanwhile, is still getting to grips with the Porsche, and perhaps wishing he was back behind the wheel of an Escort again. Swedish junior team member Stig Andervang throws his Escort around in fine style, bringing memories back of Roger Albert Clark of a few years ago. As the sun rapidly drops on the chill November afternoon, crews thread their way through the narrow tracks of the Trenton Garden Stage near Stoke-on-Trent. A water splash and the pop of flashbulbs creates beautiful effects as the cars roar through the woods en route to another tarmac stage around the Alton Park Racing Circuit before an overnight halt back in Chester. Whilst competitors had only completed 23 miles of special stages on day one of the rally, the message was all too apparent. The little Peugeot 205 was going to take some catching. The leaderboard at the end of the day is looking like this. After leaving the Chester restart at 5 a.m, crews tackled the Drysdale Forest Complex in the Lake District in the early dawn. This 17-mile stage is quite rough in parts and ideally suited to the four-wheel drive brigade. Despite this, both Michel Mouton and Malcolm Wilson have problems. Mouton is to need a new gearbox after the stage, and Wilson a new clutch. Of the Toyota trio, Karkinen has the problems. A puncture 6 miles into the stage costs him 2 minutes and a drop to 20th place. Timo Salonen is pushing his Nissan along a lot better now he's into the forest, as is teammate Shaka Mehta, whilst the youngest member of the Nissan team, Guy Llewellyn, recently crowned the British national champion, is also putting in a respectable performance. Opel Manta teammates Russell Brooks and Jimmy McRae are swapping seconds with one another in their annual battle to see who is top GM driver. Another Opel driver putting in a worthwhile performance, lying in the mid-teens, is Phil Collins, despite losing his boot lid on a log pile earlier in the stage. The Castle Eyre and Twigley's stage are bathed in sunlight as crews slither and slide through these classic Scottish forests. Vatanen continued to extend his lead. Behind him, Mikola is chasing hard, and with Voldegaard out on the previous stage with a dropped valve, the two Quattros of Mouton and Botham are fighting for third place. Everyone was amazed that Button's car was still without any bent panels. Roger Clark is still trying to get to grips with his Porsche, as is teammate Saeed Al-Hajjari. The action moved on via the daunting Kielder Forest Complex to a major service halt in Hexham. The scenes around the Peugeot service vehicles were incredible as spectators fought to catch a glimpse of the new rally supercar. Mechanics were hard-pressed to even change a tyre. There were so many people about. For Russell Brooks and co-driver Mike Broad, Kielder Forest proves their undoing. A slight roll has cost them around 4 minutes and dropped them down the leaderboard. Damage is slight, however, and once again Russell faces the prospect of a fight back up through the field. For Wilson, it is the end of the line, his car finally retiring in Kielder after a succession of transmission problems. The leaderboard on the second night of the rally looks like this. A bitterly cold morning in Langdale Forest in the huge North Yorkshire Forest complex near Pickering. Harry Vattenen's Peugeot charges past well in the lead and running without any problems. Mikkeler is safe in second place, but the battle for third is as close as ever. Buffon just having a slight advantage over Michel Mouton. Eklund is having the drive of his life to hold fifth position ahead of McRae and teammate Kankinen. The two Nissans of Salonen and Kaby are locked in battle. They drive for the rival teams Bridenstine and Freeburg, so honour is at stake. There has been little change in the leaderboard. Vatanen continues to dominate. Mikkeler too seems safe in second position. Buffon and Mouton are having a ding-dong battle, and the two-wheel drive rally is also pretty close. Salonen is surprised by the unexpected challenge from Terry Kaby, who is soon to be passed by Russell Brooks. Shaka Mater is moving up the field as he gradually gets used to the forest stages. Breckfar Forest in mid-Wales at 2:30 in the morning, and thousands of spectators line the forest tracks to get a glimpse of the cars caught in the glare of popping flashbulbs. First car through is Mikkeler, who is now into the lead after Vatanen has rolled, losing 4 minutes. Eklund has moved up to third place, past Mouton, who is having one or two problems, while Buffon has sailed up a firebreak into retirement. Russell Brooks continues to make up ground. The Dolgethly parked Ferme on the final morning of the 1984 RAC Rally. Despite losing first place during the night to Mikkeler, Vatanen has now clawed his way back and holds a slender lead of just a few seconds. The rally is shaping up to be one of the closest fought for many years. Coedy Brennan Forest and Vatanen rockets into sight, determined to hang on or even extend once again his lead. Mikkeler is never one to give up, however, and despite suffering from both turbo and transmission problems, is giving his all. Per Eklund, in the sole surviving Toyota, holds a splendid third place ahead of Michel Mouton. Russell Brooks has made it up to fifth position after a superb drive through the night. Not so fortunate, though, teammate McRae, who went off in South Wales and dropped right back. Bertie Fisher from Northern Ireland has also had a steady run, despite being more used to the tarmac stages of his native homeland than the forests of Wales. By the time weary crews reach the final stages in the Cloc-Einog Forest Complex, drama has again hit the Peugeot camp. Vatanen has broken a drive shaft, forcing him to run for 2 stages with only 3-wheel drive. Mikkeler was now ahead. Over the final Cloc-Einog stages, however, Vatanen, driving like a man possessed, squeezed past his rival once again to take the lead. In third place, Per Eklund and Dave Whittock in the Toyota Celica Turbo, a first-class performance which rounds off a tremendous season in which they won the British Group A Championship, also for Toyota. Fourth overall, despite a car which sounds far from healthy, Michel Mouton and Fabrizio Pons. They will be seen in the British Open Championship in 1985 and will bring a touch of real glamour to our home series. Fifth, after his usual drive back up through the field, Russell Brooks, partnered by Mike Broad. They're once again top British crew, but feel they could have been higher, but for their off in Kielder. The Lombard RAC Rally is always a fitting climax to the World Rally Championship season. The 1984 rally was a classic.
Now it's back 20 years to 1974, and Stuart Turner guides us through another classic RAC rally.
Timo Mäki. In Bramham Park, the Fords and Saabs scatter spectators and the last leaves of autumn. In the next 4 days, there'll be 80 more speed tests like this on closed roads all over Britain. Malvern, the three-county showground on Sunday. By now, Mackinnon had seized the lead from Minari. Per Eklund's Saab entered the stage sideways. Eklund smashes one of his headlights on a pole, then goes on to demolish some marking flags. Stig Blomqvist had rolled his Saab in Wales during the night and lost 4 minutes. Ford also had a major setback when Roger Clark, here's his escort number 5, went off in the Dovey Forest, dropping from 6th to 34th overall. So Minari and the Stratus, instead of having 4 works Fords against him, now only had to catch Mackinnon's escort to lead the field. Croft Autodrome near Darlington. Stage 43, the chicane, Mackinnon still leads. The previous night in York, Minari collapsed with stomach pains, but he managed the 1.5 mile circuit in 1 minute 42. Now watch Blomqvist. To follow that isn't easy, but Walfredson in the Volvo made a stab at him. Jack Tordoff's Porsche Carrera, John Bloxham's Triumph Dolomite Sprint. The Brian Culcheth Dolomite impaled itself on some timber in Wales the first night of the rally and retired. Roger Clark was storming back up the field after his excursion in the forest with battered bodywork and redoubled determination. The circuit racing seemed to appeal to everyone. The timekeepers at Croft had a big surprise from John Taylor. He was only 1 second behind Minari and as fast as Roger Clark. The rallycross champion was in his element. A short section of rutted mud and water where the stage left the circuit for a cross-country loop also gave Nigel Rockey and plenty of other crews a few wild moments of mid-air motoring. Timo Mackinnon says he doesn't like fog, and after 3 days of it in Wales and the Midlands, he obviously enjoyed the bright, clear conditions here in the forests of the border country. But Mackinnon was not the master of the Kielder tests. He led on 2. Blomqvist, moving up after his incident in Wales, took 1. Roger Clark, driving like fury to get back with the leaders, had the best time on no less than 4 of the 7 special stages. The wedge-shaped Lancia Stratus of Sandro Minari flashed through the forest less than 3 minutes behind the leader Mackinnon. It has proved as fast and sure-footed on dirt as on the surfaced roads. Another turn-up for the book was the performance of Water Roll's Ascona. After team manager Tony Fall broke an axle, Roll was Opel's main chance, and he didn't let them down. The slippery ride back to York with forecasts of heavy snow seemed to favour the Saabs over the escorts. John Taylor and Roger Clark were spectacular to watch, but Blomqvist's front-wheel drive Saab was 30 seconds faster than Clark on Crake, and the Swede moved up into 2nd place behind Timo Mackinnon. He was snapping at his heels all the way home, on roads well and truly in the grip of winter. Timo Mackinnon, escort number 1, still leading with only 24 hours to go. The frozen forest of Christmas trees must have reminded him of home in Helsinki. Roger Clark revelled in the snow and ice. It was much the same weather when he won the RAC 2 years ago. So it wasn't surprising he was by far the fastest man on Whinlatter. Sandro Manari's drive to third place in the Stratus was a real triumph. The car was surprisingly quick in the rough. It was fastest on Pickering. Sandro, though unwell, was now well up in the World Rally Championship with only the Tour of Corsica left. As the leaders for two-thirds of the rally, Timo Mäkinen and Henry Lydden arrived at the end of the Pickering stage, almost an hour behind their expected time. News came that, like Roger Clark, they changed a slipping clutch after Cropton. They were just inside the maximum amount of lateness permitted before exclusion from the rally. But there were still 7 special sections left before the finish at York. They couldn't afford to lose another second.
Excuse me, please.
Chief Mechanic Mick Jones and every other service crew which could be summoned by radio had played a part in fixing Timo's clutch and saving the rally for Ford. Now, before the triumphant convoy into York, nothing was left to chance. Navigator Henry Lydden knew better than anyone how close they'd come to losing. Here in Flamingo Park, well away from the crowds at the finish, there was no heady sense of victory, only profound relief and a sense of anticlimax. But the drill was the same. Wash the car, look smart for the public. At York Racecourse, it was announced that the first 6 places had gone to 6 different makes of car. But Ford had scored their hat-trick, with Timo Mäkinen trying for a personal one next year. But it all so nearly didn't happen.
What was this trouble this morning when we saw you? You'd had a long service. Could you have lost the rally?
Yes, we could have done. The service crew were magnificent, and they changed the clutch assembly in about 40 minutes, which allowed us to stay in the rally. It was, it was a precaution which paid off.
How long did they have? Would you have lost the rally if they'd taken 45 minutes?
No, we'd have lost the rally if they'd have taken 50 minutes. It was as tight as that.
Now let's really go back in time.
And here's someone who'd rather overdone it in Wales during the previous night. Nothing like cardboard for keeping out the drafts.
Pardon me, sir. Your exhaust pipe is showing.
When she was driving Heelys, Heelys in particular, and the Mini to some extent, she could take on and beat any of the current male drivers.
Well, that answers one question. The Swiss boys didn't oversleep at Peebles, and they're moving fast here as Gretna jumps out and punches the timing clock. Back into the car, and away they roar.
And now 1958.
Competitors formally signed on at the RAC control as the last minutes ticked away before the start. And then 0 hour arrives, and the Mayoress of Hastings flags away the first drivers to start the grueling 1,800-mile course from the south coast. Here goes George Farrell of Boscombe in Hampshire in an MGA. The first bend was easy. In the first stage, the 2 contingents converged on Prescott Hill in Gloucestershire from north and south. It was a delightful sunny morning, and the first few miles of the itinerary gave the crews easy running through some lovely country. A little further on, some of the drivers decided it was time for a refuelling stop. As darkness fell, it began to get really cold, and the night section through Wales brought icy roads and the first crop of casualties and time losses. After the all-night drive, the competitors had to tackle a speed test at Alton Park before going on to yet another sprint at Aintree. Before the off, there's time for last-minute adjustments and wheel changes. Here's Peter Harper of Stevenage, the eventual winner, putting on his numbers. At Blackpool, one more test stands between competitors and their beds after signing in at the RAC control, the famous Monty manoeuvring test on the promenade. It's got more curves than Sabrina. Before Don Smith of London took his Fiat round the course, he hurriedly had to strap down the bonnet with the nearest thing to hand, a piece of string. Nearly 40 cars had dropped out before reaching Blackpool because of damage of one sort and another. And at this stage of the event, 2 young drivers from the Potteries, Ron Goulbourne and Tom Gold, both in standard pennants, were well ahead of the rest. That same night, the field started out again for the second half of the rally, which took them northwards through the Lake District over the Scottish border. From Croft, the route continued down through Yorkshire and into the Peak District, before swinging away in a great loop round East Anglia and then back to the Midlands again. In daylight and in darkness, the relentless succession of tests went on, while the savage road section still continued to take its toll of men and machines. About the time we arrived at Silverstone, running repairs were being quickly carried out on a variety of very tired motor cars by very tired drivers. Marcus Chambers, competitions manager of the BMC, was there briefing his troops. And now here's journey's end. The long trek is over, and it certainly looks as though Jack Sears is glad to reach the finishing line. But there still remains one final test before the rally's end. As he awaited his turn for the test, nothing except complete failure in this last trial stood between Harper and victory. But he made sure that he was not robbed in the last few yards. A neat performance, clocking only a few seconds from start to finish. Well done, sir. In the ladies section, Pat Moss had first position, but she didn't seem overconfident as she studied the Hastings course. Small wonder. A couple of years before, she fluffed the final test in this rally and lost the prize. To the victor, the laurels, and to the other drivers, the reward of knowing that they had successfully finished one of the toughest rallies Britain has ever seen.
Soderstrom in one of the Morris Minis. And Eric Carlson motoring on in his usual flat-out style.
Incidentally, for those of you who think that Formula 2 is not the way forward, just look at these shots from the 60s and 70s. People seem to forget that rallies were being won by front-wheel drive cars so long ago. But of course, when you really got into the 70s, there was only one car in it.
Mikola follows the fast line too, but the tarmac is slippier than it looks.
As well as the development of the in-car camera in the 70s, there was also one other very unusual development from Fiat.
Despite his own backseat driver, Rawl drops to third.
But for a lot of people, the Lancia Stratos was the most spectacular rally car ever built.
Voldegaard Stratos looking and sounding like a potential winner. And perhaps not quite so impressive, Sandro Munari in the second works Lancia Stratos. Munari is a past Monte Carlo rally winner for Lancia, and the Stratos is one of the fastest rally cars in the field. But he just was not at home on this stage. Munari Stratos, but what about his teammate Voldegaard? Voldegaard's battered Stratos, or what's left of it. He completes the stage, but he's lost any chance of success. Munari, it really isn't his rally.
But let's finish this review of the RAC Rally by taking a brief look at the supercar era, probably everybody's favourite period in RAC Rally history.
Acceleration. Acceleration. Don't lose control now. Get it right. You're on the limit, so hold on tight. You're gonna make it across the line. You're gonna beat that.